Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Here we are again.
Back again.
Back again.
Back in the saddle again.
I love that song.
That was good stuff. Or Back in Black.
That too.
Oh, we're dating ourselves.
Oh.
Some of you guys will probably remember it.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys do.
So we're going to start off over here. I was going to put this at the end, and I said, let's talk about this because this is hitting me more and more. And the obvious problems that we're going to have with the food supply that we already have. And, you know, there's so much that we've talked about. I don't think it has to be. I think if, you know, this world was focused on providing food, clean water, clean air, we could do it. We could do it. But, you know, unfortunately, there's this power structure in place that doesn't seem to really care about all those things. Just cares about the MIC, you know, the war machine, the profits at certain levels in certain industries, and control.
Yeah, they've definitely hijacked humanity's ability to evolve.
So China's vegetable prices hit record highs due to historically cold winter. Vegetables have literally frozen to death. Wow, that's a statement. And, you know, we've talked about this. David and Christian, Adapt 2030, Ice Age Farmer, you know, great guys for resource on everything that's going on along this line. We've known this is coming. And this is the thing that moves nation against nation.
It is, you know, it's just things that we need to pay attention to.
We've seen wild swings, but I'm feeling like we might be starting to change towards that consistent colder and colder, record cold, unusually heavy snows. But we're still seeing, you know, we still see the record highs at the same time. So it's just this huge wobbling effect that's going on. And, you know, perhaps the earth itself is wobbling in so many ways. You know, we know the Inuit said years ago that the sky has changed. And I do have some friends out there that monitor the magnetic poles on a daily basis, and they will send me little blurbs showing, you know, pictures showing how they are wobbling. And as the magnetosphere declines, we're going to just get, you know, more intense changes.
It is. So, you know, as we watch these things physically with our own eyes and our own hands and not rely on the systems that tell us things, we can see there's definite changes.
So a lingering dip in the jet stream has seen Arctic air funnel into southern Asia. Since early December of 2020, the resulting cold has hampered the efforts of farmers across the continent, including in China, where on Monday the nation's wholesale price index for agricultural products developed by China's Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs surged to an all-time high of 139. And, you know, the changes that we're seeing, they feel like they're getting a little bit more dramatic as you look at this, you know, large, huge sinkholes opening up a month after that 6.4 earthquake in Croatia. Remember, that quake was really powerful. And we saw some sinkholes appear, and they're still appearing. And same thing with Iran. Iran has massive sinkholes going on as well.
I know. I mean, what do you do with this? This is going to swallow a whole community.
This is part of the change, and it gets us thinking about mudflood. And again, you know, I've had discussions with David at Adapt and, you know, 2030, and he really does think that it feels to him that there's a big possibility of like a major mudflood incident in 2024.
Right, and it happens more often than they say it does too. So their timelines that would they give us, I feel, are wrong.
Yeah, I think so too. I think everything is wrong. I think whole ways of thinking have been completely orchestrated and constructed for us in order to keep us with blinders on so we can't see the big picture. But we're waking up and more seeing all the time. So some of the holes are several meters wide, the largest up to 100 feet and more. Largest hole is about 50 feet deep as well. Most of them are filled with water, so it makes the depth estimates more difficult. And they're growing and they're displacing residents, and new ones are still opening in the area every day. We've been doing a lot of research on different areas, and we saw a house that popped up last night, and it was in the Ozarks in Missouri, and we saw this gorgeous house. I mean, it blew us away. You know, we were like, oh my God. I want that. I want that. I mean, it's so beautiful. Log cabin and a log cabin that's dirt cheap.
Yes.
I mean, we're not talking 6 digits here, which, like our budget, we want to stay incredibly low.
Yeah.
I mean, really, we're looking at like stuff that's more like 30 to 50,000 max. And this place was gorgeous. And then when we did a little research on it, do you know why? Because in 2017 they had major floods that washed away bridges. And again, this is a little bit towards the Mississippi River side, and we'll have to revisit that about exactly what to expect. One of our family members in Florida was telling me about a homesteading channel that's on eastern Arkansas, and but very close to the Mississippi. He was like, you should go, talk to her, and you should move over there. But no, because that's going to be underwater. And sooner than later, western Arkansas, yes, northwestern Arkansas in particular is really nice, and feels really, really good. Southern Missouri, but make sure you're not too far east. This is where the guides have told us that the water is going to be flooding over, rushing over many places, not too distant future, already starting.
Yeah, and it'd be quite frustrating when you lose a few crops, say you set up this crop to feed yourself for a year and you lose it in a matter of a day.
Yeah, exactly. And like we said, too, eastern Oklahoma is really good, and some areas in Texas, but you have to be very careful close to the coast because we have, obviously we're getting more hurricanes. It's, again, pick your poison. It really is pick your poison. Do you want to, stand in the face of wildfires that we've seen in California and Colorado that have been pretty scary at times? Or, hey, take your chances swimming.
Oh, yeah, right.
I'm a pretty good swimmer.
I'm decent.
Yeah. I love the water, honestly. Landslide damages buildings in Rota Greca. 40 people evacuated in Italy. We've seen massive landslides all around the globe again. We've seen a ton of them in South America in particular, but here in Italy again, it's again, the ground's getting too saturated. It did make me nervous in the Asheville area sometimes when we got pretty pretty inundated. And I remember sitting on the porch with my friend Eric, and we were just there, because the house was up on the mountainside. And all of a sudden we heard a big boom and crash, and it was a landslide on the other side of the mountain from where we were living. The one thing I will say about the West is that, for the most part, there's a lot more places to live, even when the mountains are surrounding you, where you're not going to get crushed by them. They're off in the distance, like where we are and have been. The mountains are always in view, but, they're 15, 20 minutes away. And if anything happened, they wouldn't reach us.
Right. It makes for beautiful sunsets, too.
It does. Strong winter storm bringing heavy snow and flooding rain to Northern California in the U.S., and Northern California is beautiful. But yeah, people are leaving in droves again, geopolitically, taxes, affordability, fires. And, I love Shasta. Yeah, I would love to live in Shasta in different times with different leadership there in the political sense as well. It's so beautiful, but here you see, the storms will get more challenging everywhere. And, here you have winds over 100 miles an hour. I mean, these are intense storms that we're seeing. What we're seeing off the coast of Alaska, the Pacific Northwest, they're hurricane strength.
They are, so we got to watch that too.
So potent winter storms impacting Northern California, bringing flooding rains, heavy mountain snow, up to 14 inches of snow in the Tahoe region overnight on Thursday. More significant snow is forecast through Friday the 29th. Blizzard warning in effect for the Sierra region. And we got a good 8 inches here. We've had over several feet of snow already. So, yeah, it's challenging. Every area has your challenges. How about Des Moines? Breaking a single-day snowfall record set back in 1895 in Iowa, as you see a truck that spun out. That's scary stuff. And I've had that happen in front of me before, and it's not a fun thing to see somebody spin out and start going in circles right in front of you on the highway.
Well, loss of control of hundreds and thousands of pounds of metal is never fun.
No, and it can be disastrous, as they say here, please stay home, travel not advised. And, the people that think, well, I could get through anything, I got a 4-wheel drive, you might be able to get through anything, but can you stop on a dime on ice?
That's the important thing.
Yeah, that always perplexed me to see people flying by because they got a 4-wheel drive and but then you'll see them down the hill later on as you drive by.
That's too bad, yeah.
There are some unusual swarms going on too. So we see a swarm of more than 200 quakes rattles Granada, Spain. Tremors felt across 6 Andalusian provinces. I love that word. Such a pretty word, isn't it?
Andalusian.
Yes, yeah. It just sounds magical. Mm-hmm. So you could see the magnitude. These are fairly significant in the 4s and in the mid 3s. Largest quake was a 4.5 as well. We'll have to keep an eye on this. And also, there's videos there. Also, the islands off of Spain and the islands off of the northwest coast of Africa as well. Because, the Canaries particular, we always keep an eye on what's going on with the Canaries.
Yes, definitely.
So will Pinatubo open the year with a big bang? Swarm of more than 800 quakes there. Hits below the dangerous stratovolcano in the Philippines.
Wow.
And this one has had a VEI 6 eruption back on June 15th, 1991. That was the second largest terrestrial eruption of the 20th century after the 1912 eruption over in Alaska. Things are heating up.
Yeah.
They're really heating up. So you see a powerful eruption of Merapi volcano covers residential areas in ash in Indonesia. When Cindy was in Nevada, she had a vision of ash coming down, and actually she saw people in the little town where she was trying to put out fires starting on the roofs.
Yeah, well, I was getting these visions of these tubes of smoke, and around the tubes were flame, and I was giving instruction and telling people, okay, go over to Mom's, get the hose, start watering down the roof. We weren't panicked. We knew it was happening, and we were trying to minimize the damage.
Yeah, I got to wonder if that's going to be the case, maybe either, especially over west of, what was that little town? Tonopah. Yeah. West of Tonopah, where it's been swarming like crazy, which is east of Long Valley, Caldera, by the way. Or down by Ridgecrest, because both of those were, one was directly to the north of us, one was directly to the west of us, and we felt both of those big ones.
Yep, we sure did.
Flames observed at Kilauea Volcano, lava erupting from vents on the northwest side. Yeah, everything is ratcheting up, guys.
It is. Look at this. One just has to really look at it and just compare it to a couple weeks ago, and you can see it.
Yeah, and it's not just there. We have an eruption at La Soufriere, and again, this is an island that is in the Caribbean, and we're also waiting to see if Pele goes, because Pele's shown activity as well, and basically not too far away from this. So the lava dome is growing.
It is.
And here we take a peek. We see that we have new activity going on for 5 volcanoes, and we have ongoing activity for 18 currently. Just waiting for some of the big ones to get going. And then when that happens, that's when we're going to see some serious cooling, especially if they're closer to the equator.
Yeah, so it's important to pay attention to this stuff.
And we were talking about this about a week ago. Researchers investigate what happens if the perfect solar storm hits Earth. Many of you guys have watched some of Diehold Foundation. I didn't watch all of his last series, but before that last series, watched every one of his videos in its entirety. So very, very familiar with what he thinks is going on. And we're not really in disagreement, maybe just with the intensity, as I don't think that what we see is quite as devastating. What he sees brings to mind the movie Knowing, where it's like the plasma comes and just toasts everything. And we don't think it's going to be that bad. He is picking, I think, 2046, the mid 2040s. I think that we think the major events with the galactic superwave is probably more in line with that 2035, 2045 time frame.
Well, yeah, I mean, as hard as it is to put timelines on things, that does feel right. You have to go by the feeling and how far out is that feeling, and that's what I get.
And what we keep getting from them is like this statement here: the big event could be 10 times stronger than what we thought before. So they keep letting us know that it might be worse. It might be worse than what we thought. And then we also see, like the last study we were talking about, well, maybe it happens 2 or 3 times as often as we thought. This gets it gets me thinking about the possibility of something like a mud flood happening maybe every 500 years, roughly. Because we've talked about these main big event cycles, like the 12,000-ish year cycles, and then a smaller one at 6,000 years, which roughly, corresponds to the precession of the equinoxes at like 25,900 and something years. So you could break it down to just a little bit less than 13,000 year intervals, for the major catastrophes. But there definitely seems like there's something else that's going on here at a much quicker cycle. Maybe 400 to 500 years, because we've seen all these buildings underneath. They don't look like they were constructed in the same circumstances as they currently are. And then that would bring us to the 1800s for a lot of these. I don't know of anybody in my family, and I'm an old codger at 55, and I did have aunts that lived to be close to 100 and shared stories with me, but none of them shared mud flood stories, even though they were born in like the 1880s and the like. And I had a lot of conversations with my mom about history, and her mom was born even before that, but none of that. But then we got the maps of California, that show California, having this, well, basically a huge inland sea. And, these maps date from the time of the first conquistadors coming over, 1500s. So, and then we found all sorts of interesting stuff, over there in Nevada, north of Pahrump. And we found, well, tell them.
Well, we found coral. We found the sponges, seashells. We found things that just really should not have been there, but there they were, right there.
Yeah, and even kind of like semi-fossilized clams that were fossilized closed. And there's no way they're a million years old. They're not a million years old. They're not even 100,000 years old. I have a hard time thinking that these things even looked 1,000 years old. Would I buy, 300-400 years, 500 years? Yeah, I could. The way they looked, but there's no way this is a million-year time frame. So I think that, the desert over there, especially like around, I had visions. I could, every time we would go shopping, like when you're going, I don't even know the name of the road, the route that goes down into Pahrump.
160, I think.
Yeah, I could just, there's a certain corner that we would round, and I'd have a vision that it was all water every time. I could see an inland sea all the way to there, and I don't doubt that it connected to the Salton Sea, and I don't think it was that long ago.
No, I don't feel like these kind of resets are that long ago, and that's why they feed us our history and they tell us what's going to happen, and they count on us to believe them. But intuitively, psychically, I'm picking up, 400 or 500 years, they're able to hit these resets or have huge earth changes, and they don't have to tell us the truth. They just have to tell us what they want.
Exactly. So they're saying that, something bigger than the Carrington event is likely to come along soon. And of course, that would fry everything. And so again, take that into consideration. Where we've been, southern Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico, I feel they're for the most part, very, very safe areas. However, if we do have an event and we have no power for 6 months and we have wildfires going on, I mean, it's going to be challenging. Anywhere you go, it's going to be challenging. And we see full moons affect sleep patterns, make people go to bed later and get up earlier. They also affect women's cycles.
Oh, definitely. They're very cyclical with women. And I never knew that until I took my herbology class, and I learned that, I every women are different, but usually I think I might remember wrong, but it's like ovulate on a full moon and start your cycle on a new moon. So, but we do cycle with the planets, and it says a lot about how closely we are tied to Earth, really.
Yeah, and this study was studying the people's sleep patterns, and it does show that they do oscillate during the 29.5-day lunar cycle. In the days leading up to a full moon, people generally go to bed later at night and then sleep for fewer hours.
Mm-hmm, definitely. So we are very cyclical beings, like everything else is a cycle.
Yes. And, the nodes of the moon have tremendous effect on us. When we're talking about Rahu and Ketu in Vedic astrology, and thank everybody for your patience. Cindy's trying to keep up with the charts. She's doing a good job keeping up with the charts. Rahu and Ketu have a huge influence on us. They actually have a kind of like an axis of destiny that they create.
Yeah, that's really important to know those axes of destiny, because they can be very malefic forces on your life. But if you know exactly how to use them, you know where to put the air in your sail, you can manipulate that energy to take you far.
And again, that's what the billionaires do, right?
That's what they do. Yes, sir.
So, guys, thank you for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. Make sure you are subscribed. If you need to reach us, it's EEARTS at Proton Mail or evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com. As always, stay prepared. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.